Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive right into the exact steps you need to take to successfully dispute a charge with KeyBank and ultimately protect your hard-earned money. Look, finding a charge you didn't authorize or paying for a product that literally never showed up, it feels like an absolute punch to the gut, right? But here's the good news. The banking system has built-in mechanisms to protect you, provided you know exactly how to use them. Understanding your rights and the specific protocols the KeyBank requires, that can absolutely be the difference between losing hundreds of dollars and getting a full refund. So today, we're turning all that confusing fine print into your personal action plan.
To keep us perfectly focused, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 1. Spotting the disputed charge, 2. Preparing and contacting KeyBank, 3. The dispute resolution timeline, 4. Overcoming common dispute roadblocks, 5. Resolutions, policies, and tips, and we'll wrap up with 6. Final thoughts.
All right, Section 1, Spotting the Disputed Charge. Identify the error.
So, discovering a missing sum of money can immediately induce panic. We've all been there. You're scrolling through your monthly statement and suddenly, boom, there's a random $50 charge from a store you've literally never visited. Or maybe it's a subscription you definitely 100% canceled 3 months ago. Knowing the right way to categorize this issue is your very first step to getting those funds back. And surprisingly, the banking world doesn't treat all bad charges the same way.
Now, what's really interesting here is the clear distinction KeyBank makes between a simple billing error and a full-blown fraud case. Each requires a slightly different approach. A disputed charge is typically a commercial disagreement or a processing error. Think of it like a merchant accidentally charging you twice for one coffee, or an online store sending you a defective pair of shoes and then refusing a refund. Fraud, on the other hand, means you have absolutely zero relationship with the transaction. Your card was stolen, cloned, or your identity was compromised. Categorizing this correctly right off the bat will dictate exactly who you call in our next step.
Moving on to Section 2. Preparing and contacting KeyBank. Initiating your claim.
Once you've figured out the specific issue, let's talk prep work. Being prepared before you make contact will save you massive amounts of time and frustration. Before contacting anyone, ensure you have your exact name, account number, the specific dollar amount in question, and a super clear explanation of the error ready to go. Gather up any supporting documents, an email receipt, a photo of a defective product, maybe your correspondence with the merchant. When you speak to a bank rep or fill out an online form, you want to present an undeniable case. Think of it as building your own little mini dossier of evidence.
Depending on your account type and your specific problem, here is exactly who you need to call. This will help you avoid getting lost in that frustrating phone maze. For standard consumer disputes or suspected debit card fraud, 1-800-KEY-TO-YOU is your main hub. However, if you're dealing with confirmed severe identity theft, you get to bypass the main queue completely and call the dedicated fraud hotline at 1-800-433-0124. And for the entrepreneurs tuning in, business accounts actually have their own dedicated channel at 1-888-KEY-4BIZ to help minimize downtime for your company.
Now, if you prefer digital channels and just want to skip the hold music entirely, which, let's be real, most of us do, simply follow this clear click path in your KeyBank online portal. You can submit and monitor your claim 24/7 this way. KeyBank uses an automated dispute management platform. That means by filing online, the system can instantly categorize your claim and even initiate protective actions, like freezing a compromised card, literally within seconds.
Let's look at Section 3, the dispute resolution timeline. When to expect a fix.
So you filed your dispute, and now you're probably wondering, when do I get my money back? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is this number, 60. You have exactly 60 days from the transaction. Actually, scratch that. It's 60 days from the date of the first statement showing the error to report it to KeyBank. Let me repeat that because it is vital. 60 days from the statement date, not the transaction date. If you ignore your statements for a few months and try to dispute an old charge on day 61, there is a good chance you forfeit your legal right to get that money back under federal regulations.
Assuming you file in time, here's how the timeline generally plays out. KeyBank usually investigates within 10 business days. Federal law requires the bank to conduct this initial review quickly. If they can solve it in 10 days, great, but complex cases can legally take longer. If they need more time, the standard domestic window stretches up to 45 days. And if your dispute involves an international transaction, a point-of-sale debit purchase, or an account opened less than 30 days ago, the bank legally has up to 90 calendar days to complete their thorough investigation.
Now, you might be thinking, what am I supposed to do for 90 days without my money? Well, if their internal investigation extends beyond that initial 10-day window, KeyBank will issue you a provisional credit.
This means you aren't left stranded. Your account balance goes back to normal while the bank fights it out with the merchant behind the scenes. It's a fantastic consumer protection. But keep the word provisional in mind. If the bank ultimately determines the charge was valid, say the merchant proves you actually did receive the item, KeyBank will reverse this credit and that money will be taken right back out of your account.
Moving to Section 4. Overcoming common dispute roadblocks. Avoid these pitfalls.
Things don't always go perfectly smoothly, so we need to proactively prepare for the bureaucratic roadblocks that catch most people totally off guard. Pay very, very close attention here because this is a massive pitfall. While a debit card dispute can be started over the phone, federal law strictly requires you to mail a physical written letter to protect your credit card billing error rights. This comes from the Fair Credit Billing Act. If you just call KeyBank to dispute a credit card charge, you have not legally protected your rights. You have to submit written notice with your name, account number, dollar amount, and explanation via snail mail directly to KeyBank N.A., P.O. Box 93885 in Cleveland, Ohio. Seriously, do not let a simple technicality cost you your refund.
And for the small business owners watching us today, the script flips a bit. If a customer disputes a charge with you, you have a strict 15-day window to submit a representment file to KeyBank to fight that chargeback. When a customer disputes a charge, those funds are automatically pulled from your demand deposit account. You've got just over 2 weeks to provide evidence, like a signed receipt or a delivery photo, proving the charge was totally legit. If you win, your funds are returned in about 5 to 7 business days. But if you miss that 15-day window, that loss becomes permanent. All right. Section 5, Resolutions, Policies, and Tips. Arbitration Rules.
Let's quickly look at the legal fine print of how KeyBank ultimately finalizes these disputes. Knowing these rules gives you a massive upper hand. KeyBank's standard deposit account agreement includes a binding arbitration clause. In plain English, this means you generally waive your right to a jury trial or a class action lawsuit if a dispute escalates. So if you and the bank reach a massive, unresolvable disagreement, you usually can't join a class action suit. You're bound to handle it individually through an arbitrator, which is just a private system outside the traditional court process.
But here's a lesser-known, kind of insider tip. You actually have a 60-day window to opt out of this arbitration clause. But of course, it must be done through physical mail, not online or via chat. If you open a new account or receive an updated agreement, you can write a letter to KeyBank at P.O. Box 93752 explicitly stating your rejection of the arbitration clause. It's a really powerful way to retain your full legal rights in court, but it does require you to be proactive with a pen and a stamp.
And finally, Section 6, Final Thoughts. Protect your finances.
We've covered a massive amount of incredibly important ground today about navigating the banking system. You now know how to categorize claims, the channels to use, timelines, and how to avoid that verbal credit card dispute trap. Now, as a professional reminder, banking policies update all the time, so this information is perfectly accurate as of today's recording date, August 6, 2026, but you should always verify current terms directly with KeyBank. Check those latest deposit account agreements online because P.O. Box numbers and specific timeframes can sometimes get revised by regulatory agencies. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. When was the last time you closely audited your bank statement? I mean, really looked at it line by line. What unauthorized charges might be hiding in plain sight right now? Remember, that 60-day clock is always ticking. The absolute best defense against fraud and billing errors is simply paying attention. So take 5 minutes today, log into your account, and take control of your financial security. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.